Hey couples, welcome to a 3-week series on parenting kids. I'm Brian, this is my wife Tracy, and we're going to be guiding you through these 3 topics over the next 3 weeks on parenting kids.
I don't know about you guys, but parenting can be really stressful and hard. There isn't a real instruction manual, a how-to do everything, and if you do it just right, everything will work out perfectly. That's just not how parenting goes. But we hope that these topics will be helpful to you to think about, what's the overall strategy to parenting? What is my parenting style like? What does that mean about me as a parent and how I approach parenting? And then what do my kids really need from me? So that when they're old enough to leave the home, I'll look back on it and say, we did okay. In fact, we did great.
Now, Tracy has her master's in counseling psychology, so we'll be gleaning a lot from her. But on top of that, Tracy, you're just a great mom. You did a great job raising our 2 kids, and I'll be sort of hosting us as we go through each of these 3 topics. So Tracy, let's start with this, the fundamental law of parenting, and here it is. Parenting, fundamentally, is a transfer of ownership over a child's life from parent to child. So this image here is really helpful for us. At 0 years, right at birth, the parent almost entirely owns everything, right? The kid can poop and eat and sleep, and that's about it. But over time, once the kid gets to 18 years, hopefully, the kid owns almost everything. So this is the transfer of ownership that we're talking about. And we can dive even a little bit deeper on it with these 3 phases or these 3 stages along the child's life as they develop from 0 to 18. Tracy, we're going to talk about going from dependent to independent, and then finally to interdependent.
I think for all of us, our hope is that eventually our kids move out, right? If we've done parenting well, our goal ultimately is not that they remain totally dependent on us. All the parents I talk to that go through the parenting years, by the time their kids are hitting 18, 19 years old, they're ready for the next phase of, the empty nest time of life. So I think for us as parents, there's a lot of steps that we're taking from 0 to 18, but ultimately where we want to get is that we feel like we've raised our kids to be independent, healthy adults ready to start their own life.
So that first stage is the dependent child who can't feed himself or take care of himself in any way. And really at this phase, the world revolves around the kid.
Yeah, so this is, picture yourself when you brought your kids home. I don't know about you guys, when I brought my first child home, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? But I know I'm in charge. And this child totally depends on me for sustaining their life. And so those early first few years of life, it really is, our kids are completely and utterly dependent on us for food, for clothing, for warmth, for protection, right? I mean, when the kid starts to toddle around, we're constantly protecting them from the dangers that they don't even understand are out there. So those first few years are just that real intense time of our kids being totally dependent on us as the parents to set that environment that is safe for them to grow and explore.
And then eventually that kid moves into the next phase. This is the independent phase where the children start to assert themselves. They show a desire to explore and learn about the world around them. But this phase can still very much be a me-centered thing.
Yeah, so you start to see this kind of take shape in maybe your late elementary, junior high years, where kids are around friends more, they're hanging out in another friend's house, they're seeing how another family does things or pays attention to other things people value, social media, all those things are starting to enter into our kids. So there's a part of them that's like, hey, I'm becoming my own person and I don't need to depend totally on mom and dad for everything. And I'm hanging out with friends without the constant watchful eye of parents. And they're starting to assert themselves as their own person, wanting to be a little bit more separate from mom and dad. So there's good to that, but there's also then those danger points that we need to make sure we're still training our kids and protecting them to get ready for full independence where they really are totally out from under our care altogether.
But really, independence isn't the ultimate goal. That third phase is what we call interdependence. And this is where the children move beyond that sort of self-centered independence, and they actually start looking for ways to help and serve others. And this really is what true maturity is about. We don't want our kids just to be independent. We want to teach them healthy interdependence.
Yes, and this is a great gift as parents when all of a sudden maybe your 18-year-old, 17-year-old's like, Mom, how can I help you today, right? All of a sudden there's an awareness of, gee, you guys have done a lot for me. How can I serve or help you? Getting our kids more interested in what are things they can be involved in the community, things they can do to serve other people so they realize the world doesn't just revolve around them, that there's people out there that need help and they could have a role to play in helping to make a great impact on someone else's life.
So that is what you need to know about the fundamental law of parenting. We encourage you to use those talking points as you talk about this in your neighborhood groups with some other parents. And we want to just kick you off with this great question. In your childhood, did your parents transfer ownership to you too quickly or too slowly? That's a great conversation to have with others in your neighborhood as you unpack your own parenting and the fundamental law of parenting. And then remember, check out even more discussion questions and talking points and the rest of the lessons online at flextalk.org. We'll see you in the next lesson.